Welcome back to the Philly Escape Podcast, everybody. It's episode 26, Escape Pod, where you can escape from all the negative narratives that all sports radios across Philly have been trying to paint in the past couple months, especially with what both the Sixers and the Eagles have done in their offseason. Big improvement from last year. So for you guys, we got Britzy.
Hey, it's been a minute.
We got Jackson.
What's up, you guys? Ready to talk some sports?
And your host, Anthony Caputi. We're here to talk sports. We're here to talk Eagles and Sixers. We'll go open-ended, but let's start with both teams. So we're talking off-season, right? We were all a little down in the dumps after the playoff losses of last season. Start with whatever team you want. I know Jackson's fired up. What do you guys have to give as far as grades for each team, and where do you think these teams are going looking ahead into next season?
You want to start
Jackson,
it off, Jackson?
Let's start with you.
Yeah, all right, I'll start it off. I think for me, I think they both had pretty similar off seasons from two different perspectives almost. I think the name of the off season for both teams is great GM, great team building. For me, I think the Eagles last season, they ended it was so exciting they got to the playoffs. They honestly got obviously trounced by the Bucks. Everybody thought that was going to happen, but I think that kind of soured the feeling of the team a little bit, to where we had the high of making the playoffs and then the low of immediately losing, and that kind of made me a little bummed out for a second. But then I was like, it's our first year. We did good for our first year, and then Howie coming in, adding AJ Brown. We got Nakobe Dean and Jordan Davis in the draft. All the free agents. I feel like we plugged every single hole. And I saw we signed Hart. I was like, oh, the one hole we have is safety, and then we signed Hart from the 49ers. So that's plugged. We got a first round linebacker, or first round. We got Nakobe Dean. He should have been a first rounder. We got him in third, obviously, but it's the first time we've ever got a linebacker with that pedigree since we were born. I feel like.
Since the legs of Trotter, probably.
Much.
Yeah, right. Very positive about the Eagles. I think we're gonna have a huge season. The only question mark, obviously, Jalen Hurts. He has the keys to the best offense we've had in such a long time. If he can't cut it, it's then obviously he's not the QB. Because let's be honest, if we threw Nick Foles on this team, we'd be winning a Super Bowl. Everybody would be talking about a Super Bowl.
There it is.
Okay. My opinion with the Sixers is that I think at the end of the season there was too much doom and gloom surrounding the Sixers. Obviously, the hopes and the expectations for last season after trading for James Harden were a championship. But if you think about it, midway through the season, there was no chance we were going to win a championship. And we were stuck in this stupid Ben Simmons situation it seemed like it was going to ruin our future forever. You know what I mean? It's how are we going to win Ben Simmons?
Did you think that at the time, after the time of trading for James Harden? Did you think we weren't going to be able to win? You're saying before the trade.
After we traded for James Harden, I was very optimistic we were going to win the championship. I thought we were going to. But I think we get to the playoffs, and then Embiid gets two serious injuries. Embiid's game is, I feel predicated on the fact that he can go in, absorb contact, and score at the rim, and then he draws people in, and that opens up our entire offense. And it's if he has a broken face and a broken hand, every time he goes in, he's hurt, and then he's afraid to go in, and then he can't score. It's just, we're a better team than the Heat, and I think the only reason we lost was because Embiid was hurt, and then Harden, for the past 2 seasons, he's dealing with hamstring injury. I know a lot of people like to say whenever somebody's hurt in sports, it's a joke, but or it's an excuse, but people do get hurt in sports, and I think this was legitimately an injury because he was shown to be hurt. And hamstring injuries, if you don't rest them long enough, they can be bad. It's everybody's saying he's too old, but 32 is not old. He's clearly not cooked. That would be mind-boggling if somebody at the caliber of James Harden was cooked at 32.
Yeah.
There's no chance that's happening.
Apparently, real quick, the injury that James Harden has with the hamstring is very similar to what Chris Paul had. And
we saw him.
We saw the resurgence that he had in his career. So
I feel like from that point on, that was a huge low when we lost, and there were a lot of things that there were question marks. And I feel with him saying he's gonna have the he's gone back into training sooner this year, which is huge. he took so much less money, which is really putting his money where his mouth is, showing that he wants to be in Philadelphia. He wants to win with his team. We signed PJ Tucker, who is a fucking dog, which we haven't had a dog in so long.
He's the dog I wanted.
He's like buffed up Danny Green, but better. So like that's huge.
He's the dog I wanted. Yep,
we got Anthony Melton, who is 10 times better than anybody we've had on our bench. He's a great defender. He can dunk it at the rim. He shoots 40% from three. He's going to be the clear primary ball handler. He's our sixth man. We finally have a sixth man. Shake Milton, we can stop gassing him up. Shake's okay, but like, get him off the team. You know, we got Melton now. Melton over Milton.
Even with Jackson
we got Daniel House, who is
in the house.
He can shoot. Daniel House spells it with a U for some reason. I feel like he's the best three we've had for a while. He's not that good, but to be honest, our threes have been pretty bad. He can shoot 40% from three.
Yep.
And he can defend. So like I'll take that over Thibault. Put Thibault on the bench. House will probably start. I think it was like last year, Harden comes in and we have like no time to gel. This year we've have Harden. We're spending the entire offseason gelling and coming up with a plan. It's like we got the guys that they wanted to get. Like they know these guys and they wanted these specific guys on the team. Tyrese Maxey, it was his first year in the starting lineup. Now it's his second year. He took a huge leap. He's probably going to take another leap. We somehow still have Tobias, who, honestly, Toby was cooking in the playoffs. He was good. I'll take Toby.
Playing his role. Yep.
If Embiid stays healthy, I think we're good. And I don't know if you guys saw the entire team, like they've all been hanging out all over the place. They've been going to parties, which is something they've never done before. They never hung out together. And they're all they're taking a team trip for like a week or two to South Carolina to all hang out and practice together and like go to museums and stuff. I don't know. I love it. I think both teams, good vibes right now. I'm loving where we're headed for 2022.
In short, you like their off-season improvements. Okay,
so I love that.
Great.
I love that tangent.
What I heard,
that's a good stuff.
What I heard, Eagles filled the gaps, and Sixers built up their bench.
Best
they
team
got
of all time.
some recovery time. So
we built our bench and we got our dogs, dude.
And the dog and the hungry dogs run faster. So okay, we'll go to Brits now. What are your thoughts? You can do your tangent. This is your opening monologue, or you can keep it short and sweet.
That's hard to follow. It's hard to follow.
Yeah, I don't know how you beat that.
All right. Yeah. So we'll go back to the original question, which I almost forgot what it was.
Off-season grades. What are the thoughts here?
Eagles and Sixers. I do agree with what Jackson said, basically a little bit about how we're in similar situations with each team. I mean, not so much the Eagles being as dominant as the Sixers roster is or has been. But Eagles last year, everybody was like, oh, I mean, this is like a 5-win team. This is maybe like a 6-win team. And then we come in and we make the playoffs. Don't even have to play the last game or play our starters last game. Easily make the playoffs, and we obviously get trounced by the Bucks. But I think in all of our heart of hearts, we all kind of knew we weren't going to beat the Bucks. But now it's like, okay, we looked like we were entering almost like a rebuild with Jalen. Now it's like, okay, we made the playoffs. Now we can actually just add to this team because it is good enough to add to. We don't have to spread this out over a couple of years. Let's just do it now. We get all these guys. We get AJ Brown. We got the draft picks we got. All the additions on defense are just exactly what we needed. That team, we're going to talk about it more, I'm sure, but I can't wait to watch this Eagles season. And then going to the Sixers, Jackson hit the nail on the head on a lot of things, but I'll basically just say, I'll basically just say, it sucks that we couldn't get over the same hump we've been trying to get over, which is the second round. I do like the fact that James Harden kind of proved his loyalty in the offseason. That's huge, I think. I wouldn't say I was surprised, but just I'm glad to see it. And the fact that we got a lot more bench depth, and hopefully we can have a healthy Embiid in the playoffs next year. That that's kind of been the Achilles heel of this team every single year.
The word hopefully that use there.
Yep. Yeah, it's like, and I don't think he's injury prone. I just think it's just. He's our best player, and he's so important. And even if he gets nicked up, and he got more than nicked up, it kind of shows in everybody's play on this team. So I like the additions we made. I don't see why we get stuck in the same spot next year as we did last couple of years. I think we should get over it.
So you like what we're doing, and you think we're right about there to get over the hump with the Sixers, and you like the improvements from the Eagles overall.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm with you, Briss. I think last year for the Sixers was like you can give them leeway because it was hard, it was hurt, Embiid was hurt. It's
I
their
agree.
first. They only played together for a few months. If they don't get past the second round this year, then we have a problem.
Yeah, and
it would
it's
be
just
a disappointment.
And I said,
and I think
before,
that would mean Doc needs to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true too.
I'd be okay if he could go now, to be honest with you. But that's another thing to talk about. So Eagles Sixers, right? So Eagles, I think to the Bucks game, and I think it was short-sighted and recency bias for a lot of fans. I think a lot of people forget how we felt before that playoff game. You know, going back to just a few pods, honestly, for us, it was 9 and 8, and we said, okay, they exceeded expectations. This is exactly what we wanted out of the season, right? It was year one Sirianni, year one Jalen Hurts, and I hate that. I hate how everybody always says, "Oh, it's going to be his third year. Enough with that crap." You know, he played 4 games. Last year was a rookie season. Okay,
Yeah,
one full year.
He played 4 games.
Full system.
4 games, and the last 4 games didn't even matter.
Right.
It's like a preseason.
One full year, one full system. So last year was his first year. For all those people who say otherwise, this year you have to get, and you can, 10-7, 11, and that's probably pretty low. I think they can go 11 and 6 now. Yeah, 11 and 6. So that's what I think this Eagles team can do. It's taking a step forward. Second year, everything. Sirianni and Hurts. Quarterback is huge, but to Jackson and Britz's point, they filled every single gap. I mean, Howie had A++++ off season.
Yeah,
I honestly think he learned from his mistake of. I really believe Howie listens to the noise. I think he listens to the radio. Ever since all that hate from the Jalen Reagor pick, I think he flipped his whole scheme around. Okay, I'll go Alabama. I'll get all the top prospects. I'll do whatever it takes to get literally the guys that people are talking about on the radio. And he's done that. I mean, he's filled every gap. We need a corner. Goes out. Okay, we lose Steven Nelson. Get James Bradbury. We need some linebackers. Okay, you know, people constantly talking about that. Kazir White, you know, a good depth kind of guy. He goes out and gets Nakobe Dean. Hassan Reddick. A lot of names I just keep forgetting because he built the list up so
many,
much.
Man. Like we have a completely revamped defense.
They're not just like quality starters. They're good starters.
These are good quality. Exactly. And Jordan Davis, and then we also have, you know, I said Nakobe Dean. AJ Brown, right? We hear talks about receivers. Literally every single gap he has filled. And then, you know, the latest talks have been, all right, we just only don't have a safety. He does get depth in Tart. But then you hear talks about Jesse Bates, which at this point, he's filled a ton of gaps. Like if he were to fill the safety gap with Jesse Bates, it's kind of like I don't need
all in.
That's fully all in off season. We're already all in, but I feel like we don't need to even do that at this point. Like teams are going to have holes. Yeah. Like at this point, the one thing we can talk about, it all comes back to, okay, Jalen Hurts, test year. Is he the guy?
100%.
I was hopeful, not to cut you off, Brits. I was hopeful last year that the season would tell us that Jalen is or is not the guy. It didn't tell me that yet. But I have a lot of faith, though. I'm not one of the guys that says he's going to hold this team back. Because remember, Nick Foles won a Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, you know, I think a high-powered offense, which we have, gets you there with a defense that could really get us far, too. So as far as Eagles, I'm pretty hopeful, 11-6.
Yeah, I would even go as far as to say, like, put the over-under at, like, 10.5. Like, I think it's 11 or 10, and, like, and it's, like...
I think that's fair.
We could even go higher, I think.
They could get 13 wins or something.
I mean, it's just because... And obviously...
And I'm not saying that's crazy, either.
I'm
really not.
Talk to me, like, you know, maybe I'll have a different tune. Maybe I'll have a different tune 3 games in. But, like... Because, you know, we haven't seen the team. Like, we haven't really seen, like, training camp.
We haven't seen anything.
Yeah.
We have, like, a really easy strength of schedule, though, too, also, don't we?
Especially, we do. At the start, we could easily go 4-0 facing the Jaguars, the Lions. I think the Commanders.
There's almost no reason we shouldn't go 4-0.
Yeah. So, for me, I'm looking at disappointment if they can't get to that 11-6.
Going back to Jalen Hurts, I would be shocked if he took a step back this year. I don't think that's the kind of person
I don't
he
think
is.
that's possible.
Yeah, I mean, because he played pretty good last year. I mean, 800 rushing yards is like that's insane almost.
I mean,
Like
that's
you don't see
Lamar
that.
Jackson.
You don't see that other than Lamar Jackson. And like,
so now we just got to see the passing.
we just got to see the arm.
But
And I think
also,
he'll get better. I don't see why he wouldn't. Like if you look at his entire career as even before the NFL, he's always gotten better. He's never taken a step back. He's always put the work in. I don't see why it wouldn't be the same here.
I feel like even with Lamar Jackson, like he wasn't the best thrower when he got into the league, but he worked on it and he got better. I feel like you're saying, Jalen always works hard and he always gets better. I think it would be a shame and it wouldn't make any sense if he didn't get better.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's sitting as a middle of the pack quarterback right now, and if he were to improve, that puts you as a playoff kind of team, franchise type of team. If he makes that improvement, I think the question is, what is his ceiling? Like, who is he?
See, I don't even think we know. I don't even like to answer that question. I don't think we know at all.
I agree. I don't think we know that yet. That's why I asked the question.
The question also is, does he need to be a top 10 quarterback for us to win the Super Bowl? There's tons of times when the team wins without the top 10.
We have talked about this
quarterback.
Yep.
I think he does need to be a top 10 quarterback.
You do?
To win
I think you need to be a top 10 to get there.
Or at least a top 10 quarterback that year, Like
See, I almost think that I don't know. I feel like
it's hard.
Before I thought he did need to be a top 10 quarterback, but with the roster changes we made, I don't know if he does now.
That's tough. I mean,
it's a good question.
If you think about the Eagles that won the Super Bowl, we had the best quarterback in the league.
That's what that's why I go back to the question.
Going to obviously not in the playoffs, but we had that's why we won. I think that's why we won 11 games in 11-1 or whatever, won 10-2 before he got hurt. And I think it matters a lot. I mean, it's pretty hard to find quarterbacks that aren't top 10 or even top 5 sometimes that have won Super Bowls in the past 5 years. Besides Joe Flacco, I can't even name one.
I'll put it this way, right? I really do think that the Super Bowl is a team win. I mean, just think about Tom Brady. I feel like to get to the playoffs, get through a good season, I feel like it takes a quarterback. Tom Brady gave him all those opportunities, best quarterback of all time. But look at was he doing anything crazy in the actual Super Bowl other than maybe ours as far as stats or numbers? I mean, he had insane comebacks, but that was controlling the game. I mean, I feel
but it's still
comes down to team defensive.
I mean, Brady put up yards, dude.
I mean,
he put up yards, but
it's still the quarterback. In general, though, he's got to be. It's not even just throwing for 350. It's just making the throws you need to make. You need to make these. Look, here's my perfect example.
Yeah.
Look at the Rams. Look at the Rams. 2019, they go to the Super Bowl. They don't even score a touchdown.
That's true.
They come back with Matt Stafford, and they win the Super Bowl. And it's more or less the same team, roster-wise.
And probably, honestly, for Jared Goff, probably similar stats to Stafford in the year that he played. I mean, Jared Goff put up numbers with that team. He had a 500-yard passing game.
He was good. Yeah, I mean, he was good, but I don't think he was. And I think we've seen it now. He's not a top 10
good
quarterback. Yeah,
he's not a top 10 quarterback.
So it's maybe
it's a good question.
Maybe that goes against what I said earlier about maybe it just needs to be that year. Maybe it does need to be an actual guy for years to come.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think you need to have somewhere in the top 6 to 8 quarterbacks to really be we're gonna win this thing. If you have a guy that's on the fringe 10, I don't know. Hopefully, it doesn't fuck up.
It's so hard. I mean, even a lot of the
greats. Look at Garoppolo, dude.
A lot of look at Garoppolo. Look at a lot of the greats. The best of the best only have one. A-Rod, Russell Wilson. I mean, he could have had 2, should have had 2. But.
Yeah.
This is part of the point that I'm saying. I obviously nobody's gonna agree with what I'm saying, and I'm going on an unrelated tangent now.
That's fine. That's what this is for. Go ahead.
I think, let's be honest here. Nick Foles is way better than people give him credit for. I don't understand.
The Eagles.
Not even with the Eagles. You can't play that good. The throws he was making, the way he led the offense, he hit everything on time, and everything was perfect. He was so good, and I just feel like he left the Eagles and immediately never really got a chance to play on that good of a team ever again. I feel like if he's in a good situation, he's really good. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think Fritz is saying,
That's
You
the what
gotta
if,
have him.
right?
You gotta be a good QB. He's clearly a good QB. People are sleeping on him. So
That's the what if of if we kept him over
He's
Carson.
not even in the league
But-
anymore, dude. Like,
we
but-
wouldn't win another Super Bowl if we kept fucking Foles over Carson.
Listen.
we
I,
did
I,
keep. We did. We had Foles the
we
next
did
year. He didn't
technically
win.
keep him. We did.
And he was
keep-
killing it. If it weren't for Alshon dropping that pass, we might have won.
That's actually true.
another what
But
if.
I mean,
So
I think we can
so
all
let me-
agree,
yeah.
real quick. Just one last thing on that. I
Yeah.
think we can all agree though that Nick Foles was touched by God in that playoff run. He
No,
was
I think
playing.
he's just
No,
good.
he's
I think
never.
he's just
No, no,
good.
no,
Oh,
no,
give
no.
him
even-
credit.
Even
Give
when he
the
went.
man credit.
No, but
I think the fact that Philadelphia always says he's only good in Philadelphia and he was touched by God is just completely discrediting the fact that
dude, he
Nick Foles
played
I'm
put
not
it
saying
two of
touched
the
by God.
greatest
amazing
playoff games of all time, and I don't think he's the two of the.
Jackson,
He's a
look at-
stud. He's a stud.
This is where we're talking about opinions. Look at the data though. Him on the Eagles, we're 27-2, right? Touchdowns and
Because he was on a good team.
good team in
We
the
weren't that
system
good
that
that
he
year, I
worked.
don't think.
That he worked in. I think it's system. I think it's the system that he has to use.
good that year?
Another team should put him in a good system because he's great.
I think we went to the playoffs 10-6, 10-6.
Okay.
I'm
Well, I
pretty
guess
sure.
he goes 27-2. Is
We
pretty
lost
hard,
against the
pretty
Saints,
hard to.
but-
not
He's
go to
got. I mean, he's tied for most touchdowns in a game. He's got like so many,
Yeah,
like ridiculous, like.
Chip Kelly's stupid ass
That's
taking
that's
him out.
weird.
when there
This
was,
is
like-
He's a
typical.
fluke.
This is typical Philly right now. It just always comes back to Nick Foles.
Listen, all right.
He's a
we're
god.
go- He wasn't touched by God. Give the man credit, but
I'm
he
giving-
only
no,
works
I'm
in a
giving all the
certain.
credit.
But he only works in a certain system. We're cutting it there.
Yeah,
Cut it. Cut it.
Nick Foles was not
Eagle
touched by
system.
God. God was touched by Nick Foles.
Listen,
Okay, that's not-
without Nick
now-
Foles, I don't
now
have a
it's-
Super Bowl. I still love the guy, dude. Don't get
Where's
me
the
wrong.
show turning? Where's the show going? Okay. So let me get to the Sixers. So I agree with a lot of those things, right? I think it's fair to say that they could easily beat the Heat if Joel could just be himself, not play scared because of his injuries. Man had a broken face, broken thumb, broken all over. So clearly he was just not playing 100%. In the
He was
defense.
playing like 43%.
in those like he wouldn't go up for rebounds, like simple as that.
Yeah.
Case closed. So I'm with you guys there. It's the same team but better with the depth that we just couldn't get because we made that trade at the time. So it was just unfortunate, but I think we put in the pieces like Tucker. Like he was a dog when we
He was
played
killing
against.
us in that Heat series.
And he's the game. It's the game I try to emulate. Just hustle your ass off, and even if you don't have the talent, make up for it. Give your team the most opportunities as possible with rebounds. The one thing I'm probably not with you guys on, and I think Jackson's going to go off on me. He's already rolling the eyes. I'm not saying that they're not there to go over the hump, but I have to say, I'm not going to predict it. I'm going to say prove it before I predict it. I need to see it for myself. Of course, I'm going to watch the season. I'm a big 76ers fan, but I just I can't believe it until I see it with my own eyes. And with James Harden, even with the hamstring, he's not going to go back to his old self. And he didn't look like the guy. He can put up 30 points easily, right? But I don't think he looked like a guy who could control the game. I don't think he looked like a killer. I'm sorry. I have to say it. And if other people can be his intelligence for the game out of this world. Like the things that the passes that he sees and the openings on the floor for open looks. He has that. But he's not the guy who's just going to take over the game.
Jackson right now.
He's not the guy. I'm sorry. He's great for this team. He's going to work with Joel. Everything's going to mix well. But I don't see him as a killer. Do we still get past the second round? I think we can. So, Jackson,
before you go,
the floor is yours.
Before you eat into Caputi right now,
The floor is yours.
I want to say he's not the only one saying this.
And I can't wait. And I can't wait to go back to this recording a year from now. Can't wait. Because when we're not past the second round because Joel Embiid's hurt and Harden didn't do anything because he gave up at the end. I'm not saying he's going to give up, but he's not that killer. He's not that same killer he once was.
He's not 28 a game anymore. And I think that's obvious, but
I think he can still even get the points. I just don't think he gets points in a way that's like, all right, he's going to drill a couple threes just back to back. And then,
I think I'd rather him do that than do what he did in some of those games.
Does he know this game better than anybody else and see the floor better than anyone else? Of course. But I just don't. Could they get past the second round? I think they still can. But I got to see it. It's been too much of this over the years.
Can I speak now?
You may have the floor.
Okay, so here's the deal. The Sixers are not trying to get past the hump. The Sixers are past the hump, and they've been past the hump
How are they past
for
the
like
hump?
3 to 4 fucking years, dude. Get on the fucking
Past the
train.
hump.
Here's the situation, dude. The Sixers have been the number 1 seed in the East like two out of the last 4 years, and the other ones they've been top 4. Arguably should have been the number 1. Embiid is the best player we've had in Philadelphia since fucking like
Probably
Dr.
ever.
J.
Probably
Okay,
ever.
so maybe you should start appreciating him. We're already past the hump because we have the best player in the league. We also have James Harden, who should have been a 3-time MVP 3 years in a row. He's only 32. He's not past his prime. I don't know what you're talking about with like he doesn't know how to run the off. I don't know what you said about that, but
He knows how to run the offense. He does.
Because Ben Simmons could not run an offense. Anytime Ben Simmons was running the offense, we were only doing half-court offense. Every single play was in the half-court. He'd run around, he'd spin around and throw the ball somewhere random, and hopefully somebody would score. And that is not something we do now. We actually have somebody who can pass the ball and run the offense, which is nice because we have Embiid, we've got Tyrese Maxey, who's improving, and we've got a huge plethora of really sick bench pieces that we didn't have last year. We've got Paul Reed, who's going to be playing minutes and getting hopefully better at not fouling so that he can actually benefit Embiid in the playoffs. The reason I'm saying we're past the hump is because I feel like the last 3 years, obviously we were past the hump the year with the Toronto series. We probably could have won the entire thing if that ball bounced in. The next few years, I feel like we've just been dealing with Embiid injuries that have caused us not to be past the hump. You can't have this good of a team, I think, and not be past the hump. Harden, I don't know. It's just like Harden was literally injured, and if he's not injured, he can run faster. He can dunk the ball, which is something he didn't even do last year, and he can score. Harden is known as like one of the best scorers of all time, so he's going to be able to score if he's not going to be healthy. I don't know. I think what you're saying is insane. I think we should really appreciate Embiid. I think we need to appreciate Embiid and not say.
I think it's the only thing we didn't say,
because we may never in our lifetime get a player this good. So why be negative now?
I mean, I don't think I disagree with anything you said. You're right. I should have said I appreciate Embiid because he is the best player in the league. No disagreements really with anything you honestly said. But tell me this: define the hump, because you said it 57 times. So define the hump. What is the hump?
The hump is if we play at our best basketball, we're gonna win.
Win what?
The championship.
So the hump is the championship?
Yeah.
Then we're not past it. We haven't won.
Did you not listen to what I said? I said we're past the hump. We're good enough. The hump is, are you good enough to make the championship and win? We are good enough to make the championship and win. Sometimes there's like 4 or 5 teams who are past the hump, but something negative happens to them. The past few years, we've been dealing with injuries. If we don't deal with injuries, we're going to win.
I feel like you guys have 2 very different descriptions on the hump.
When we think about all the Super Bowls in the past, are we going to talk about all the possible Super Bowls that we could have won or the one in 2017?
I don't know. When we talk about the Eagles, are we going to talk about the fact that they fucking like won a few more games? And are they going to get over the hump? If they don't get over the hump, I'm not going to get excited. What the fuck are you talking about, dude?
I'm still excited. I'm still going to watch the season. I'm excited, but
you can't say this is the Eagles.
I don't even feel like I'm being negative.
You can't say this is the Eagles podcast where blah blah blah. We're going to be leaving the negativity of Philadelphia behind and then be like,
but the Eagles haven't been to the second round of the playoffs 4 years in a row.
Right, we've been to the playoffs. It's not like we can't get past. It's not like we're working towards one point and just
different teams
past that one point.
No, but you're comparing them.
Football's way different. Football's way different. You know that. It's much harder to win a Super Bowl.
I'm gonna try to intermediate here.
All right, we need a mediator in Brits, because you said we get past the hump. But
I know what Jackson's saying.
Okay, you know what I'm saying.
I do. I think I know what both of you are saying.
I just feel like you're being overly critical of a team that has been hampered by freak injuries.
I just think we get so excited every year. And if we were to look back at our podcast, and I would even look at myself and see how excited I was about that team, and then I saw the result after the fact, I would think, wow, I was, freak stuff did happen. I'll give you that.
I think you should go back to the podcast after the episode where the freak injury happened and see our reaction when we all realized it was over.
Yeah, but there were still podcasts even within that series that we were way too optimistic, and we said we'll still win this.
That's delusions talking, but like the realistic emotion of it's over once the injury happens.
All right,
was when it was over.
Cue Brits in.
I think Jackson's he sees the team and how much talent they have, and like he kind of He doesn't want
two MVP players.
He doesn't want to hear the fact that
I was an MVP candidate
we've
last
had
year,
this
2 years
same
ago.
we've had this same feeling for multiple years now. Would you agree, Jackson, with how talented the team has been?
I would say the best feeling I've had.
Toronto.
So the Toronto series was really good. I thought last year, before Embiid's injury, we had a chance. I didn't think as big of a chance as the Toronto year. I think this year with this roster, I think you guys should really look at this roster and I think we have a better chance this year than we had the Toronto year. I think we have a better roster than we did. I think we have a deeper roster. I think we have more talent.
I mean,
and it's more cohesive.
From what it looks like, I think I wouldn't disagree with you. But basically, what I was saying is, am I right about we've had multiple years where we've had this kind of similar feeling where we think we got a championship caliber team, and then we've been ultimately upset about where we've placed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think obviously we have had quite a few years of disappointment. But I think you just have to understand that happens to every other team.
Yeah.
Except for the one team that wins.
Right.
And that at least our situation had reasons. If there's no reason for it and you just are bad, then I think you have a problem. But I think at least the fact that Embiid has been hurt every single time. Harden had a hamstring injury, and his whole game is predicated on not having a hamstring injury. And I think the fact that Ben Simmons before that just kind of sucked, and we had to come to terms with that and then deal with that situation. I feel like finally we're in a healthy environment where we can actually play good again. And I don't know. I just think there's not really a need to be negative.
So what you're saying is eventually all the pieces are going to fall together.
And I think they have finally.
Yeah. I'm saying not just in the off season, with just the roster building. I'm saying with we're going to get to the playoffs. We're going to be all healthy. We're going to win because we are good enough to win.
That's what I feel like this team, it has the pieces that are good enough to win, and they're just keep put together in the wrong ways. And to say they're not good enough to win doesn't make sense. They're just not being put together the right way. And I feel like finally we've managed to get rid of the bad pieces and add a few good ones in, and it's now it's a good puzzle. You know what I mean?
Here's a question. I think this is actually a pretty good question.
And I have a question after that too.
With this team we have now, if Embiid had the injuries that he had last year in the playoffs, do you think this team is still good enough to win with his injuries?
No,
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that
I would agree actually.
I think we could have taken the Heat to 7 games and potentially beat them with a healthy Harden. But I don't think they could win the whole thing without Embiid. Embiid's the best player on the team. You need him.
I mean, so he's gonna be playing every game, but that's just with the nagging injuries that he had. You still think it's not enough?
Well, those were I think those were injuries that they said would have taken any other player out of the playoffs completely.
Yeah.
They weren't nagging injuries. They were debilitating injuries.
So let me say this: when does it become the point where it's not? Listen, I know these types of injuries are freak injuries, but when does it come? When does it come to the point where this isn't a freak thing anymore for Joel Embiid to get hurt, and it's just a thing that's going to happen every year?
I think the situation is that Embiid is the best player to come to Philadelphia. I think he's better than Allen Iverson was. I
could agree with that. Yeah.
I think that I think he's dedicated to being in Philly. None of his injuries are injuries that are repeated injuries. It's not like he's getting a hamstring injury and then re-injuring the hamstring. He's getting elbowed in the face and breaking a bone, or somebody's ripping his thumb off.
To be fair, they are
they are freak. They're by the very definition.
Other players are legitimately hurting him.
Yeah, I think if there was a pattern to the injuries, that would be a problem. I don't.
It's not it's not even they're stepping on his foot. They're hitting him.
I mean, it's fair. Siakam literally just got in his last punch before the series ended. I mean,
it was literally the picture was Embiid flying down with the airplane, turning around and getting an elbow in the face.
So what if I re-spun it this way, Jackson, where maybe it's not necessarily the fault of the Sixers, but just by the pure situation, just going through that emotional roller coaster of knowing how excited I feel before the season and then knowing that exact emotion after that last playoff game. And I'm tied to that. I'm just thinking of those emotions now. Does that help you understand where I'm coming from a little bit more?
Yeah, I dealt with the same emotions, dude. I just think like
I'm just tired of that.
For me, one of my big problems with that team was at the end of the series, it just didn't feel like anybody was trying.
They gave up at the end. They gave up.
There was that moment at the end where they put Milton and Maxey on, and you could see they were trying, and nobody else was trying.
It was actually sad to watch. Even Joel, dude. Even Joel gave up a little bit, but it was like, it was done anyway. So it's like,
I feel like you add somebody like PJ Tucker to the team, somebody like Melton to the team. They're dogs, dude. I don't think they're gonna be in there just not trying.
Well,
you know what I mean?
That's something what we talked about too.
Dogs.
Like, just that we've been waiting for that culture of like, who's gonna light a fire under their asses, and like, it's not Doc Rivers. So if it's a guy like
it's definitely
Tucker,
not Doc Rivers.
If it's a guy like Tucker that finally comes in and like sets the standard of like, guys, you need to play to this level, then like I'm about it, because that's
dude.
Those defensive minded teams are like what get you far.
But like also like what helps, one of the things that I think helps a team work hard together is just like if they're fighting for each other. You know what I mean? Like, I know like in the past, like they obviously teams try and say like we're a family or whatever and we're fighting together. But like I think you can tell through social media if a team, like the people on the team are actually friends with each other. And it just, they've never hung out for whatever reason it is. I feel like they're never hanging out with each other. But like over this summer, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to like Instagram or whatever, like Embiid for the first time ever is hanging out with Harden like all the time. He's like flying out to LA with him. They're all going to South Carolina. I'm just hopeful that like
can't hurt. It doesn't
like
hurt.
even and like Tyrese Maxey's like going out and trading with Harden like on his own. I just think that if everybody really likes each other and buys in, I don't think there's going to be a point where we're watching the game and you can tell that they've given up. You know what I mean?
No, I agree with that. I don't think last year I think last year was a little bit of like man, this sucks. Like we had a good team here, and like Joel kind of fell apart. Like Harden's not at his 100%, and like we're already kind of losing by 20. And this is like, I don't know. I mean, obviously you don't want to see that out of your team ever, but like it's almost understandable.
Yeah, I mean, Joel wasn't himself, and it was his best season, yet. So that's what was kind of sad. That's his best season.
And that's saying a lot.
I think that was the saddest part about it was he was playing like just out of this world. Just should have been the MVP. It
was a sad season. It was overwhelmingly sad.
I feel like we've had a lot of sad seasons in the Sixers last 5 years, dude.
A lot of sad.
Like
that one was. I think that was the worst, though. You know what I mean? Because like
was
the
it
other
worse
ones
than the Toronto series? I don't know, man.
That was. I mean, yeah, it was. I think it was sadder than the Toronto series. The Toronto series,
was just like
you felt optimistic following it. This one, I didn't feel optimistic following it.
Fair, that's fair.
I felt like almost like I did after the Horford bubble series against the Heat.
Well, then
I was like, this team's doomed.
We also felt optimistic after the Toronto series because we thought we were going to keep Jimmy Butler, and then we didn't.
And then
exactly.
Look how that went.
Well, that's one of the things is though that I was trying to say in the beginning is we finally have two good GMs. We could have made bad moves. We could have signed Harden to a max deal, or like traded Tobias just to get his salary off the books and just replace him with somebody who's not going to help the team, and gone into like a mini rebuild. But I think Daryl retooled us, and we're a lot better than we were last year in the same way that Howie did. And I think just having these GMs is huge for our teams.
I think you're right. I think what he did, because there was a lot of talk of like trading Tobias, trading Maxey, doing a lot of like crazy things that would completely revamp the roster. And instead of doing that and like listening to all the bullshit that he could have done, I think he just
stick to your guns.
Got Harden on the deal we needed to get him on, added pieces around him, got depth, and the team's more or less the same. You know, I think that was the better move.
I really think.
I mean, I haven't disliked any of Morey's moves that he's made since he's been here. So, and they've all worked out. I mean, you can't look at a move and say like, oh, okay, that
we haven't gotten really worse.
Screwed us.
We haven't gotten worse ever.
So, okay, so shit. What was I gonna ask? I had something in my mind. Somebody stall. Say
what
something.
Did you have in your mind? Oh, Jackson,
something
Eagles
related. Yeah.
Something Eagles related.
So we have good expectations for this year, and we talk a lot about the offense, and there's been a lot of talk specifically about AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. For me, I see it being I see it being 1,000-yard season for them both, and that's pretty damn successful for me, as opposed to like a AJ going 1,300 and Devontae still hitting that 900 mark as like a 800 900 as that second receiver. I think they're just about even in yards. I think that's just kind of AJ Brown's game, where it's very productive yards. I feel like he scores. He's more of a touchdown guy, less yards type of receiver.
He's like a 1,000-yard guy. He's been a 1,000-yard guy for just
that's
years.
what he's
Besides
been.
when he was hurt.
But I think he's still hitting his prime though. But still, I think he's
on a rookie deal still. I mean, he's
exactly
he's about to hit his prime.
Right, turning 25, not even this year. Yeah. And I still think he'll hit the 1,000, low 1,000. But I'm happy with that.
People think of AJ Brown as like this 29-year-old guy because of how fucking big he is. Like he's still in his rookie deal.
Right? He's 24. No,
I think that's a lofty prediction, Caputi.
For on Smith end or all of it, or
I just think my only thing with it is I feel like we have it's many
hard for that to happen.
Receivers, it would just have to be a really good Jalen Hurts season for that to happen.
That's what I was going to say.
Hard. That's what makes it hard, is Jalen more than anything.
If you got like a guy like who slings it like for 5,000 a year, like fucking Matt Stafford or something, like I would be like, they're both gonna have 1,500. Like,
oh yeah, that would be a lot then.
Because you have those quarterbacks in the league that are like, even though they're not like the best quarterbacks, they're always hitting like that 4,500 yard mark.
Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan, exactly.
Always.
If Jalen can throw for like 4,200, I think that's gonna happen.
We get there, yeah.
I think that's gonna be a little tough for him to do. I think I'd see him more of as like a 3,800 to 3,900, something like that. If he has and that would be a good year. I think that would be a good year. He's still gonna rush. He's still gonna rush for a ton.
Still gonna get 1,000 yards on his own.
I think he's just gonna need. I think he's just gonna need to get those touchdowns up. Really, like get the number of passing touchdowns up. Like that's gotta be a thing. Like we have to be able to score through the air, because we didn't really do that much last year.
I think he went like 16 and 10 passing and touchdowns, and interceptions, and then also like 10 rushing touchdowns on top of that.
10 rushing touchdowns with 800 yards. That's
fantasy quarterback.
That's like an absolute. That's like a Michael Vick year, dude.
Crazy. It's crazy, but I think that's why everybody in fantasy, they look at AJ Brown and Smith and they're like, okay, a little lower tier because Jalen.
Yeah, I mean. It's gonna come down to him. Like have you guys seen him? He looks a lot bigger. Like he looks a lot bigger. Yeah, like stronger.
Is he gonna be
Brown or Jalen Hurts?
Jalen looks a lot bigger. Like his arms are like twice the size of what they were last year.
Bigger isn't everything, though. I will say that.
Well, but maybe he's getting that arm strength up, dude.
It could be. I mean,
if you're a quarterback and you're like, what is he like 6'1", maybe 6 foot? He's not that tall. Yeah. And like reminds me of like a Russell Wilson, like Russell Wilson is like not that tall, but he's built like like he's like he can take a hit, he can get the ball. I mean, he might be the best deep thrower we've ever seen, Russell Wilson. Like
he's amazing.
He's like amazing at that. So like if we can get him like in kind of Russell Wilson shape, that'd be like that's looking up.
Hell, I'll sign up for that. Yeah. I'll sign up for that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of AJ Brown, I want to ask you guys, what are your guys' takes on this dude's wild Twitter?
Oh, I love it. I followed him
like a psycho, dude.
I followed him right when we drafted him, dude. I've been watching it all happen. He just all he does is talk about like the team, and then he'll like randomly just roast people.
He's always saying some weird shit. He's like, I don't believe in the calendar, or like I think there's water
I
in
didn't
the
see that actually.
And it's like, whoa.
Is he like another Kyrie?
Basically, yeah. I would say.
No. Let's no. I don't like that.
Not in the team destroying way, but in the psychotic, unresearched scientific opinions way. He's absolutely like Kyrie.
He's like using Twitter like it was in like 2013 when like you just like have a random thought and just tweet it.
Yeah, he's using Twitter like he's like a 10th grader or something. I don't know. It's just a 10th grader.
I like his handle.
He did call out Derek Gunn for like the comments on Jalen Hurts, where you guys saw that. I mean, I like that. Protect your quarterback.
He's got a sick handle, dude. 1K always.
That's when he said he thought there was a layer of water surrounding the earth.
God.
I don't know about all that, but like if he's
I
gonna
haven't seen those
score 10
tweets, but
touchdowns
maybe-
and go for 1,500, I'll get some
He can
water
say
on the
whatever
earth
he
for
can
him.
say. He can say whatever he wants. I'll give him all the layers he needs.
Jeez.
But no, which
Disinformation
also
campaign.
and also another thing, like if the source that you got the information wasn't credible, doesn't that then make you not credible? Just a
In
point
part,
that I
yeah,
want to
pretty
throw.
much. Are you talking about,
Yeah.
you're talking about like journalists and shit?
So, yeah, just Derek Gunn putting that
Yeah,
out there.
yeah.
If you knew if it's like, oh, this may be good or not, this may be truthful or not, that then starts to make you not.
Well,
not very credible.
Sometimes I think they
if
just
Rap
write
Sheet-
bullshit and say that.
If Rap Sheet
Yeah, just to stir the pot.
gets a
yeah.
source and then writes about it or tweets about it and it ends
And
up
it's
being
wrong,
wrong, Rap
and he's
Sheet's
consistently wrong.
Rap Sheet is going to have to apologize. Like
Right.
not if it just didn't, like, it's not like if like,
part
oh,
of
this
his
is supposed to
brand.
happen and it doesn't happen. If it's just completely wrong, I mean, he's gonna have to like be like, yeah, I was wrong.
You ruin
Swear
your
to God.
reputation. You then become not credible. Like
Yeah.
if you want to be an Ian Rappaport, every time he says something, it becomes true. So like, it's just fact when he says stuff.
Yeah,
You
because
can't
he's
ruin your
got great
yeah.
sources.
I feel like Derek Gunn was drunk at like a Philly bar at like 2
And he
a.m. and
heard
some
it
guy
for
was
some
like,
random day.
"Hey, I heard Jalen Hurts got 3 interceptions, 2 fumbles, and 1 pick six." And he's like, "All right, I'll write that down."
Yeah, no disrespect, but
Thanks, man.
I mean,
What's
if
your
the
name?
source, if the source is bad. then- Okay, so
Maybe an unreliable source, but
so say we go 9-8, we make the playoffs, we're out the first round. What do we do?
Blow it up.
Quarterback
Disappointed.
No, I'm just kidding.
You don't
I mean,
blow it up, yeah.
no,
What do we do
I'm not gonna blow it
quarterback
up,
wise?
but I mean,
Because another reason why
you gotta
Howie
look
is
for a new QB in that situation. That's not good enough.
Another reason why Howie is A++ is that he didn't get a crap quarterback just for the sake of getting one in the draft.
if that happens,
Pushing those first rounds, keeping those next year, we got options. We got some firepower to play with.
well,
So.
here's the
I
thing.
think
If that
think
happens, go ahead, Jackson.
I was gonna say with this roster we have,
You have
if
to
you're
get.
gonna be the quarterback of the future, I think you need at least 12 wins. I think
12.
I think with this good of a team, you should have 12 wins.
12. Yeah.
Is
I think
that crazy? I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
but
don't
I think
really
if you're a good
care
quarterback,
so
you
much
could get
about,
that
like,
many.
it's not crazy. It depends how he looks. Like if he's still 11-6 and he's like their dominant wins.
Here's the thing: if he plays
yeah.
well and we go 9-8 and it's not his fault, that's a different story,
Yeah, I agree.
obviously. But I don't see that being the case unless like
Devil's in the details.
unless like
but-
Gannon sucks and he's like running the defense terribly, because that's the only way I could see that happening.
Yeah.
If that does happen, 9-8, Jalen's not playing up to par, first round exit. I mean, we're almost screwed, dude, because we're gonna have to draft somebody. Because almost every single quarterback that was like coming up on free agency happened this year.
You kind of think though, if we hit, we're kind of not screwed because then we have 4 more years on like a good rookie, on like a stacked
Yeah,
team
but, like,
around him.
Jalen Hurts is a good rookie. Like it was a good rookie.
I'm only
you know?
saying in the situation where Jalen is a lot worse than we think he is.
Yeah, no, but I don't want to draft somebody else, man. I really don't. Like
I don't want to have to do that either. But the thing is, like because it takes a couple years. It takes second year. The rookie year doesn't really mean anything. But I really wouldn't want to go through that whole Carson and Jalen thing again, where it's like you got a guy sitting behind you ready to take over. I'm just kind of sick of that. But you have to. I just want the answer. Like if Jalen's going to be, I just don't want him to be mediocre. I want him to go off, or like be bad enough to say like, all right, we got to move on. Like the mediocre part is what gets you stuck.
yeah, the
years
mediocre
to
part
come.
is almost like
It's like the Baker
worst case
Mayfields
scenario.
or the like what do you do?
I swear, if Jalen Hurts isn't good enough, we trade him for a 2nd round pick, and then we call up Nick Foles. Problem solved.
Have him on speed dial. Hard
I'm not
question.
even gonna, I'm not even
It'll
gonna
be the Eagles.
entertain that.
He'll be back in MVP form.
It's a hard question to answer.
It's just because I mean, think about like if it was like if like last year was his like final test year, it would have been perfect because we would have had like all these fucking quarterbacks that were on the move and like.
Oh, okay. You're saying with the free agency market.
Free agency,
it was crazy with quarterbacks.
Yeah,
like
like Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers was looking to possibly move. I mean, who else? Who else moved? Oh, well, Deshaun Watson, but
But
it's Deshaun Watson.
think of this team with Russell Wilson right now, or
If we had Russell
yeah,
Wilson,
right.
we'd be 15-2.
I mean, that's the thing that sucked. I would be very happy to get one of those guys, but I do like Jalen as a person too, so that's what makes this hard.
I want Jalen to
I want him to succeed.
I like Jalen just as much as I
He's a
love
great guy.
Carson, dude. Like when we first got Carson, I was like, this is our guy, man. Like I wanted to work out, and then it worked out, and then it didn't work out. So
I have a question for you guys.
You don't want to be heartbroken again so soon.
No. Well, if it means the Super Bowl, then
Jumps
I'll
on
take
a
it.
wagon
But
Brits is ready to jump on a wagon and then the wheels fall off.
if it means the Super Bowl, then I guess
Then,
Carson
of course.
technically didn't win the Super Bowl, but he.
Would you guys buy a beer for Carson if he came back to town?
I would.
I mean, would you this
I
season?
have beer for him, then I poison it.
Okay.
No, it's fucked up.
So
No, I would not. I would just ignore him.
You would ignore him?
Yeah.
Okay, and
That's crazy. We're not getting back into this because I'm about to go on a tangent.
What would you do? What would you do?
I'm about to play mediator here.
Dude, Carson had just as much
you do?
to do with that Super Bowl season as Nick Foles did.
I want to buy him a
Says
beer
you.
this season. Once he's off the Commanders, I would say, all right, yeah, but not like a nice beer. One of the crappier
He's getting
ones.
tossed around like old laundry in the league now. Dude, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's really sad.
It's sad.
Hey,
I mean,
Colts fans aren't buying him a beer.
Stats wise,
they're
he
not.
didn't have a bad season stat wise, but obviously
He actually didn't.
Yeah,
It's kind of weird.
yeah, it was actually a pretty decent, pretty good season.
Mentally booms himself out of nowhere, and then he's
He
doomed.
played better than Jalen, technically.
So I have a question, actual question. How much of 2017 was the defense? How much of Carson's success as a quarterback was the defense? Because we had 19 picks that season, and you could argue that with those picks, with those turnovers that put you in a good position to score and just dominate the game really quickly, that could really help your game as a quarterback. Score a lot of touchdowns, and
it was a mix of he was throwing good passes, I think, but special teams helped him a lot. Our defense helped him a lot, and I think strength of schedule helped him a lot.
Oh,
and how much? How much was him, and how much was Carson, and how much was those other things, other phases of the team? Because why I ask is, could that be Jalen this year with this crazy stacked defense now, or so we think? Could it be?
Carson got help by a defense, a good defense, just as much as every other team gets helped by a good defense.
You got to
Look
give
at the
Carson
Patriots.
credit.
The Patriots always have a great defense.
At least 10% of it was Carson, I think.
Oh my god.
Only 2. All right, what's a real number though?
Dude, he was the MVP. He was going to be unanimous MVP.
But Case Keenum was almost MVP that year. So
He wasn't. Tom Brady won.
Case Keenum was on fire.
And then we blew him out of the water.
It was Russ and Brady. Yeah, they were in contention.
I mean, Carson. If you look at Carson, he looks in that year. The injuries killed this man, dude. He looks so much different. In that year,
you got to go back to the highlights. He was crazy.
He looked like a whole different player in that year. I mean, the fucking dimes he was dropping, the way he was moving around the pocket, completely different player. The injuries killed the man, dude.
Yeah, I mean, after that, he looked like a moose that got shot, stumbling
ACL
around or
tear,
something.
Broken ankles, bad back,
broken ribs.
Yeah, concussion. I mean, the guys had a tough go of it.
Yeah, yeah.
But that year, I mean, that year was all Carson's year. That was the year of Carson Wentz.
All right, I think final question, and we'll close. Do the Eagles win the division?
Oh, absolutely.
I think
Dallas got worse. We got better.
Lock it in.
Yeah.
I think
you have to, because the only other team that I could see winning it is Dallas, and there hasn't been a team that was won it back to back since we did in 2004. So you have to keep the streak going.
I mean, there's nightmare scenario where Commander Carson wins the whole thing.
Imagine he comes out having MVP.
Why are people so high on him? Why are people so high on him?
They're high on him right now?
I think so. Just
really?
I haven't really paid attention, honestly.
People love Carson. I don't know.
That was a bad evening show take of just if it's not the Eagles, I think the Commanders might win the division. I was like, oh my god.
Out of their mind, dude.
In reality, they're probably gonna have I mean,
They'll probably
it's
just do what they
kind
always
of weird
do.
with the
Have like
Commanders
a
because their defense is
8 and
actually
9
pretty good.
season.
Their defense is
Yeah,
I
actually
think the
pretty
Giants
good.
might be better than the Commanders.
No, Giants are in a
Giants will
Giants are
always
in a
suck.
shit show. They are terrible.
Daniel Jones, they still have
The Giants are
Jason
like
Garrett.
arguably like the worst team in the league right now.
Yeah,
The Jets got way better.
They had a
Like,
good offseason. Giants had a good offseason too
I mean,
with their drafts.
they had an okay
But
offseason.
still,
They didn't really add much besides the
I think
draft.
they added O-line, and they had 2 first-round picks like within the top 10.
No, I mean besides the draft, and the draft is like you don't even really know.
Yeah, I mean it takes a couple years things to come to fruition anyway.
I think the Giants might win like 3 games. I mean they won like 4 last year.
Giants suck. They'll always suck.
They'll always suck yet in the last like decade 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it is what it is.
I mean
All right,
their last
boys.
one was like 10 years ago. So
Let's unanimous. Birds are taking it. It's our division for the taking.
Birds around the board. Episode 26 for the only person who's still 26 in this group, Joseph Britz.
Oh,
Happy
thanks, you old man.
Go Britzy. And then we'll come back soon next week. I don't know. Find out next time.
Weekly now.
Philly Escape Podcast. Come back for 27. We'll see you guys in a bit.
See you guys. Have a good one.
Podcast has landed.
Landed.